Hello, Terry, of Terry's Knives and Man Stuff. I'm Eric, and I'd like to kind of introduce myself, show you a bit about who I am and what I do with knives, and then show you these knives that you see, these four that are along the lines of this one. So I started out making knives using straight razors. Here's one example. This was a Sheffield straight razor, and I used some old straight razor scales, buffalo horn, and celluloid, as well as some cherry burl that my neighbor gave me. And it's a clamshell handle construction, so I keep the original shape of the tang in there and what have you. So yeah, I made a few of those, and got into using these Stanley chisels in a similar vein to make a simple knife, because I'm a novice knife maker. I don't have forging and heat treating facilities and so forth in my house, although I do now have a forge that I can go to, and they helped me to make this knife. This is my bush knife. I call that a triphasic grind because it has three distinct grind areas on it, 1, 2, 3. And so this will, I have a thing for hook bills, by the way, and bill hooks. So this kind of has a hook bill / bill hook area here, kind of a chopping area there, and a whatever you want with this area. I got into the Buck 420 high carbon, and I rehandled this Pursuit, again with some cherry burl, used lilac pins. It's the same kind of handle construction as this one, but I put pins in it as well. And yeah, so I made a knife makers, a knife reviewers challenge, and perhaps you might be interested, Terry. So the deal is that with one of these chisels, which they made in 3 different spec, you know, 1 inch, a 3/4, and a half, I can make you a knife according somewhat to your preference. Now, this one came out of a 1 inch, and in order to remove these bevels and have it, you know, crisp, there was some thinning and some slimming involved. With this one, which is for Kukali Bushcraft, Tim, I kept the this bevel here to some degree on one side. And it has been alleged that these might well be 420 high carbon, which is, I guess, generally held to be a steel that is undesirable. But I like it. And if you get a good heat treatment, which Buck obviously do, and I reason that Stanley, USA in the 1980s, also probably knew what they were doing when it came to heat treatment, and they would have had a good consistent heat treatment on all of these chisels, which I bought up all the ones I could find on eBay. I got about 50 of them. Hey, you might like this, Terry. I just got this from a fellow named Pocket Knife Therapy. You may well be familiar. If you're not, you might want to check him out. Pocket Knife Therapy, his grandfather amassed a tremendous folding knife collection, and he is going through the collection slowly but surely in a very charming way. He looks into the history of the knife and he goes over it, and then he puts it up for sale. So I already got a Schrade automatic, but I just got this day before yesterday, and I think it's just fantastic. Now, it may not be the proverbial jam up jelly tight in every sense. Front to back were pretty good. But yeah, my hope for my future is that I will get to such a stage that I will be able to, in a day, pop this apart, put some of those nice bronze washers in there, you know, make everything real jam up jelly tight. So, funny story. I left a comment with Terry. I said, hey, I've got one of these knives as well, these Imperial, and Dwayne over at Patriot Knife and Tool, he's got one that has been subject to some modification. They removed the guard and changed the scales on Dwayne's one. And at the junk store where I found this, I knew there were a couple more. So I went back and I found those couple more, but I didn't get them. Instead, I got these, because these were more differenter. They're both colonial stamp, but the stamp is different, and so is the grind, which leads me to hypothesize that this is pre and this is post Rambo era of the same basic knife, right? They just changed the grind in accordance with the fashion of the day. Also, this one had a plastic sheath and this one had a leather one, so that kind of would confirm that hypothesis to some degree, although whether, you know, how much Rambo would have had to do with it or whatever, you know. Maybe they started making these knives and then that was an inspiration to the Rambo movies. I don't know. Then I saw this on eBay advertised. I said, wow, well, that looks exactly like the Imperial / Colonial. But with a genuine something organic handle that I'm sorry to say I just can't. I guess it's bone, but maybe it's some kind of antler. I don't know. But certainly it's natural, and yeah, this was allegedly World War II era, which I can neither confirm nor deny, but it is Hammer brand, and certainly it looks like it could well predate all the other ones. Yes. 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 So, yeah, we've got kind of a saber grind, flat grind, survival grind, flat grind. Coming up to 8 minutes in. I gather that YouTube likes it if you make a video about 10 minutes long. So, hey, look, I make slingshots too. I whittle slingshots. I shoot them sometimes, but really I haven't shot much in some years. I just kept whittling and whittling. I got a box over here. Got a box over here, and then I got another box somewhere else. I think the other one's bigger than this one. But yeah, you can see all shapes and sizes. Thinking about doing a slingshot challenge. Anybody need a slingshot blank? Get in touch. Cheers, Terry.